I've got YouTube in front of me. It is a glorious sunny day here in North Idaho, and I look forward to sharing with you today. So before we go diving in and I start talking like Minnie Mouse on speed, let's take a nice deep breath in. Just slow it all down, guys. Slow it all down. We need to remember to do that more regularly. We need to just slow it down. Slow it down. I imagine you can hear me. You're getting what I'm putting down, Miss Laura. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome. So last week we spoke about the let them theory, which was a very, very deep and very amazing conversation that we had. And we're going to kind of stem on those lines again today, but I'm going to take this into technology because I've been seeing some really unusual things. And one of the things I see also, and I know it for myself, is that we breeze through life and we are focusing on all the stuff and we might be missing some of the things that are happening right in front of us, especially with our technology. And, you know, I was going to just grab my phone, but they're both in front of me. That's how I record on YouTube. So I can't grab my phone, but I have my phone all the time. I work off my phone. I write books on my phone. I update websites on my phone. I do Zooms on my phone. I do YouTube Lives. I'm on my phone all the time. But we need to chime in. Good morning, Miss Vicky. Thank you for letting me see your beautiful face. And you know, we're on these phones all the time, but we neglect to realize a couple things. One, how dependent we become on them. Two, how dysfunctional they really are and how much they really aren't saving us time or energy. A lot of times when you really analyze the situation, they're causing a lot more time drain, energy drain, sucking the life out of us on a regular basis. Additionally, it also creates conflict, and that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit today. The whole aspect of it, because, you know, I want you guys in tune spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically with yourself so that you are aware. You know, the more in tune we are, the more aware we are, the greater we can help ourselves. And, you know, my Zoom ladies here know that firsthand because we've gone through some extensive trainings on just learning to be super in tune with our bodies. Because when we can be that in tune with our bodies, we can do amazing things for ourselves. Well, the same is true in this arena. We need that awareness and being in tune and understanding, for one, that these machines are really not healthy for us. So understanding that first and foremost, and you've heard me say about this, taking breaks away from the equipment on a, Miss Laura's upside down. How'd you do that? I feel like that some days. That's funny. That's funny. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. There we go. Now it's fun. See what I'm saying? They make us feel like we're upside down when really we are right side up. Oh, that was funny. Okay. Anyway, I was distracted, but that was funny. I needed that. But seriously, taking a break from our machinery, not carrying them in our pockets. You know, so many people, and I tend to be guilty of that too on occasion. I actually made a leather pouch to hold mine, so when we're in the woods, I wasn't losing it and I had it, but I also tend to stick it in my back pocket on situations. And, you know, we have a lot of men in our world, young boys in our world, and probably girls as well, that are becoming sterile because of the radiation that is coming off of these phones, and they're sticking them in their pockets. This is reality. This is real. So the other thing is, you know, when we're sleeping, yeah, nice, Mr. Ken's joining. When we're sleeping, having our phones on the other side of the room so that we are not affected. Understand that when our phones are plugged in, good morning, Mr. Ken. When our phones are plugged in, they are producing even more radiation. So, understanding first and foremost that these pieces of equipment, although they make our lives easier, can also really be harmful for us. Firsthand, I don't know if you'll be able to see this or not. I don't know if you can see the lumps on my finger there. There'll be, most people, doctors, medical, oh, you've just got arthritis setting in. Well, let me share something with you. I just put frankincense oil on this. These are not always here. The reason these lumps are here is because I school off of my phone and off of my iPad. And this is my direction finger. This is my hand that holds the pencil. And do I have it here? Okay, so I have an eye pencil. It plugs into the phone, it's charged, it's radiating. This bad boy is not radiating, it's just a stylus. But I've done some research, well, not even research. I use myself as a guinea pig all the time. This is all I've been using for the last couple weeks. It is still metal, sending the whatever it is coming off of my equipment up into this. Easter Sunday, I could not bend my thumb. This joint was not working. And those lumps, when I walk away from my equipment and I'm not using my equipment and I use frankincense oil, they're gone. Crazily, and I'm just going to stick my whole hand up. This finger is also starting to get the lumps because of all the schooling I'm doing right now. And, watch. I'll try to show you in a couple weeks because I won't be as intensely schooling, but pay attention. I want you paying attention to what your phones are doing to you. So, that's just the EMFs and the radiation coming off of our phones. Now, I use my phone for everything. And I'm also really anal with my calendar. And I've always used a date book. But this year's a little different. There was a period about 7 years ago that I did go digital with my calendar instead of using, my date book. But again, that was a season of a lot. And I moved away from pencil and paper. This year is one of those years where I was using my date book, but I had so many things that were on an electronic calendar and I was having problems getting them over onto the paper calendar. So I've started doing a digital calendar. Well, it's good that I'm really organized and that I pay attention to my calendar because Google is set to give me a notice the day before, and it's set to give me a notice 30 minutes before all of my events. And then Zoom is kind enough to give me 15-minute reminders because it's easy to get distracted here in the woods. You guys see me. There's an eagle flying in the sky. There's elk in my front yard. Laura goes upside down and instantly I'm toast. So, it's easy to get distracted. But when your phone sends you a notification 3 hours after your appointment, how many of you are getting that? For a while, I was upset with my son because he wasn't punctual for anything that we were setting, a schedule for. And I'm like, what in the world? And we'll text him and he never responds like all day. Like you have to call him because you know why? His text messages aren't going across his phone. We both use Verizon, but he has the Visible account, which is a really inexpensive account. It's also like it's not serviced well, obviously, because we both have the same program. And I can message, my husband, and we're lucky if he gets that too. So what does that cause? That could cause conflict, right? Because if you're not in the same household, we're testing this within the same household and on the same property. My son has his own cabin, but here we are on the same property and, get frustrated because of, time, punctuality and response time and all that other good stuff. When I see his phone and as I grab his phone, the messages that I sent 4 hours ago come across his phone. So why am I sharing this today? Because is it possible that our phones are designed to do just that, so that it keeps us all divided, in conflict, worrying? Are we worrying that, we're not worthy of somebody's attention because they're not responding to our text messages or our emails? Are we being ghosted because you're sending out work emails to people and nobody's responding? Like, to the degree that I've actually tested my email. I sent myself a message. Is it working or isn't it working? Well, sure, it sends it to me. But we sit there and we wonder about all these things. And, I know firsthand, the person I was 30 years ago would have been really worried if I didn't hear back from somebody, whether it was to make sure they were okay. And granted, I still worry, but we live very remotely and we live like old school. So it's like everything is old school. When you leave the property, you're lucky if you have service. So you just trust that they get where they're going, It's like our parents when they let us drive. They had no idea where we were. They had no idea how to get a hold of us because we didn't have cell phones then. So I want you to just think about this. And I want you to just pay attention. And I also want you to realize that we have control over all of this stuff. One week could pitch them in the woods, and I celebrate the day when I can stack up all my technology and just put some holes in them because I no longer need them. Although that would mean that I wouldn't have a connection with you guys, but here I would, and there I would. But our phones cause conflict. The next thing that our phones and technology do is they doctor wrong. I was very guilty of this, and I have a zillion million clients that I'll get them on a protocol, and they're still in that research mindset. So they go on to Dr. Google or Dr. Chat GPT, all these AI things that are out there now. And it's quite amazing, honestly. I celebrate the amount of information we have at our fingertips because it is a valuable tool. Before, we had the library, we had word of mouth, we had all of those things. But we had to do our legwork, and this information wasn't readily available. However, there is good information, there's bad information, there's evil information out there. So, and I was very guilty because I was on a journey of my own, trying to heal myself, and I was dependent on Dr. Google or the books I had because I did not have a doctor. I did not have an integrative health practitioner or a naturopath that was guiding me. I didn't have anybody at the time. So I want to warn you guys to be cautious because yes, Papa led me to all the information that I needed during my healing journey. And yes, looking back at my information, I had good sources. But I also see now all the negative resources that are out there that are leading people astray. And it's very, very concerning because like my clients, I too was, taking a protocol that Papa led me to, but my adrenals feel a little sluggish today, or maybe my kidneys don't feel right. So I pop on and I'm taking another tincture and I add another supplement, and we just pile on all this supplementation, which isn't good for our bodies. And there's like a method. So it's like, I want to caution everybody today on that. And feel free to, this is what these events are for. If you have questions regarding supplements or tinctures or materials you're finding online, come and ask. Send me an email. If you want me to cover it, I will cover the subject online. And no shame to anybody out there that is, using Dr. Google. I still use Dr. Google. I'm searching, but there's good sources, bad sources. And, I still have to be cautious myself of wanting to grab that next supplement to nurture something. I've got to slow it down. It's just like when we started this session today, I reminded you to slow it down. And that's what we need to do. We need to slow ourselves down, and we need to be in the understanding that our bodies need time to process what we're already doing. So be very cautious when you're, like, for example, we always thought that the WHO was such a great resource all those years until we hit 2019, right? Okay, that's a perfect example, right? And that is not a good resource. That is a staged resource. And, there are other resources of other bloggers and other speakers posting things from their experiences. And a lot of times it's good information, but it may not be good for you. It was identical for their needs, but maybe not for yours. So I just want to put caution out there, because we have this tool at our fingertips, and I know that the people in front of me right now here understand this, but I'm speaking this to a more global group, in that you guys know to be cautious. You guys understand that there's good and bad resources. But think about this. Much of the world doesn't. Much of the world goes to WHO and looks for their information. And it's a scary thought if you think about that. It's a really scary thought. And then also just, like, for example, and I don't have anybody in mind for this. I didn't exactly experience this. I'm just using this as an example because it popped in my mind, because we're heading into mushroom season. Homesteader goes out, they're finding mushrooms. They do a big series on mushrooms, and they're posting misinformation on mushrooms. Now, my people sitting here in front of me are shaking their heads and understand exactly where I'm going with that, because there are good mushrooms and there are bad mushrooms, and there are even evil mushrooms. And there are a lot of our herbs and our mushrooms, they have a twin. Only the twin is the evil twin, and not healthy. So it's very easy to die from mushroom toxicity. It's not safe. So, when we're sharing information online, we need to be sure that we're sharing valid information. I know that when I'm sharing information, I'm sharing valid information, researched information, science-based information, but that's not true of all sources. So please do your own research, do your own due diligence when it comes to researching anything, But seriously, I want to jump back to the fact that, and I do share this, I do on occasion wear my tinfoil hat. And I think that it's important that we consider everything, and that we think about everything, not just on one side, not just on the other side, but across the board. Are our machines designed to dumb us down? Are our machines designed to create conflict? Are our machines designed to make us so that we are dependent on them and all the apps to keep our schedules going, to monitor our weight loss, to monitor our heart rate, that we lose sight of just being in tune with ourselves? Oh, look, my heart's beating a little irregular today. I didn't need my app to tell me that. I mean, seriously, like, that's what it's getting down to, And I just want to, there's just been, like I said, my family has experienced these oddities. This has been going on for months. They need to, I don't know about you guys, but the cache on the phones get clogged. If I'm speaking Greek to you, you're using your phone so much, you never shut it off, and it just doesn't want to do what it's supposed to do. So then things aren't working properly, aren't functioning well, your messages aren't being sent, your things aren't happening. So you need to shut it down and turn it back on. So if you didn't know that, that's one thing that you can be doing to your phone. But what I want to encourage you guys to do is to pay attention and to also go back to old school. If you send a text message out and somebody doesn't respond to you, instead of curling up in a corner and wondering if you no longer have a place in their life, why don't you reach out? Why don't you give them a phone call? But don't have your phone against your head. Don't use earbuds. Put it on speaker and set it in front of you. But seriously, like we lose sight because we've become so technologically enabled. We lose sight of those connections. And, you know, I am in a situation right now at a business level where it feels like I'm being ghosted. I guarantee you I'm not. But technology is making me feel that way. There's been an email change. There's been all kinds of different changes with technology. So before I go assuming and get all upset and get mad and call them irate, what's going on? How come nobody's responding to me? How about you just think about it and blasted technology. I'm going to reach out to my friends, make sure everything's good, make sure that, you know, their system's working the way it's supposed to be. Maybe this is a concern. Maybe other people aren't receiving their emails. So, you know, this is another place where I can help instead of being, you know, all bent out of shape because somebody didn't respond to my email. You know, that's just an example, but we're all feeling that. And here's the other thing. I almost missed a appointment, and I've had a couple of my clients miss appointments. Why? Because like I said earlier, the notifications were sent later in the day, and they totally zoned on the day of the week. And that happens to those of us that live in the woods because we don't know what day it is unless we are looking at a calendar. So, you know, I totally related to their situation, but also I saw firsthand that the notifications are coming across wrong. Sometimes you don't even get notified with things. It's really crazy. So let me see here. Vicky says, I've read the phone needs to be at the very least 2 feet away from our bodies. Yes. Yeah. And there are things that we can put in place to help eliminate the effects of EMFs on the body. Do I have them handy? No, they're across the room. I actually have copper infused gloves that I wear when I'm schooling, but I haven't been wearing them. So hence I got the bumps on my finger. But when I have to wear them, because if I'm on the machines way too long, I lose, like I feel it. My hands just burn. It's the craziest thing. So I have that. I also, oh no, that's not here either. Yes it is. You guys thought I was kidding when I said about my tinfoil hat. This is silver fabric. There we go. My painter's cap, my artsy cap. Hey, you know, I go out in public like this. If I've got to protect myself from EMFs, I'll be protected from people too because they stay far away. All right. Anyway, Ken says creating dependency when the only one we need to be dependent on is Jesus. The rest is noise. Absolutely, absolutely. Now, with that being said, is there good on our machines? Yes, I use my Bible app all the time. Papa took me to 2 Kings this morning with Elijah and Elijah. And we have good things on our phones, but most people, and especially the kids, you know, are abusing those things. There's free reign. And of course, for those of you parents out there are tools that you can add onto your children's phones to regulate what they are viewing. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but YouTube is foul anymore. Between the content that's on YouTube and the ads that come up, it's like, whoa. And like I have ads on our both of our channels, and it scares me wondering what's being chosen on there. The thought to turn them all off has, but here's the thing. They now have it regulated that if you do turn them off, they still put ads on there. So it doesn't, we have control, but only to a degree on a lot of things. So, for me, if I had young children right now, they would be outside. They would be playing. They would be getting dirty. They would be eating their pound of dirt for the day, whatever. They're away from the machinery. There's so much that we can be doing and learning and teaching our kids. And here's something. I had a conversation with the postmaster yesterday. And this is so true. Our children today do not have skills. They have phones, but they don't have skills. They also are losing that level of common sense. And there are a lot of parents out there, and kudos to you guys and grandparents, because I know this is Ken, and I know this is going to be Vicky and Laura, where they are taking their grandkids to unique places and teaching them things and allowing them to be kids, not confined, and not controlled. It is one of the most valuable things. But the postmaster said, we are creating a generation of skillless people. And the conversation came up because the mountain man, I'm just so blessed. He's so gifted. We could live this lifestyle, but it wouldn't be near as comfortable if it wasn't for him. Right now he's putting an addition on our home, and I know this sounds funny, but we're putting our bathroom in the house. We had a bathhouse on our property that was used by all, because we have my son here. We intention of a guest cabin. Anyway, our bathroom is coming in our home. Clawfoot tub, old porcelain sink, cushy, nice chrome fixtures, we may sound like we live rustically, but we still live good. And we do live rustically, but we live good. Thanks to him. He knows how to use a hammer, and he uses it well. And one of the things in the future may be for him to be teaching others his skill sets: blacksmithing, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, teaching people how to build the tiny homes that we live in, those kind of things. But teach your kids skills. That was something that I always did with my kids. My kids, from as soon as they could stand up, were in my kitchen with me, helping me stir things, bake things, wash dishes. I'm an outdoor girl. I am, when you go to the dictionary and it says tomboy, it'll have my face. I was out there, stringing fishing line and pulling in the fish, hunting, climbing trees. I don't know how I didn't break my neck a couple times when branches broke and I ended up on the back of my head. We've all done that, haven't we? Come on, I'm not the only one. Laura's raising her hand. Thank you. Yeah, so I had my kids doing everything with me, and I always wanted to teach them those things. A lot of people are afraid to teach their children certain skills. When we moved here, our son was 13, and we taught him how to light fires, how to build shelters, how to purify water, how to use a gun. He was hunting with me from the time he, 7 on, but he was finally of age that he could hunt himself. He had a BB gun at 9. And I know that for many of you, that sounds scary, but knowledge is power. And when our children know how to do things, we taught him how to butcher chickens. And for some of you, again, that might seem really alarming, but you know what? He can harvest, or forage. That was what I combined the two words. A grouse out in the wild, or a squirrel. And he knows how to take care of it and process it and make food with it. My son went to college and he knew how to cook. A lot of the other guys didn't. He was making cookies and the other guys were stealing them, So having these skill sets is so valuable. And at a health level, it's even more valuable, because when you teach your kids how to harvest and forage and raise good food, which is where we are at today, we need to be raising our own food. We have 12 chickens coming. I get them tomorrow. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And if we go to Alaska, then Ken will have 12 chickens. I'm donating to the cause. But raising our own animals, providing for ourselves, growing our own food is such a valuable, valuable tool. And, you know, when we created our large garden on the other homestead, Austin was in there with his hands dirty with us, planting and harvesting and processing. You know, he loves repetitive motion, so him chopping the celery and the tomatoes and the onions for our salsa or chili sauce. And here's the other thing: memories. Good memories come from all of these events. He and I still laugh to this day at some of the antics from our milk goats. One goat, every time we would get her out every morning to milk, she would trip and fall. Where would she fall? In a nasty wet mud puddle, or in a pile of poop, or something so you'd have to clean her before you could even milk her. She was just so klutzy. And my son, you know, we free ranged our goats. How did we get the goats back in the pen? They wouldn't go freely on their own. If you tried to take them with a leash, they would fight you. He would just bleat and run across the yard, and they would just run after him. It was the greatest thing. So, like, memories come from these events when we are away from our technology. And let me say, I'm grateful that you are here with me with your technology right now. Like I said, our phones hold a purpose, but I want you guys to pay attention. And I want you guys to be bigger than your phone, in the regard that we very quickly jump to conclusions, as I shared, you know, with the emails and the text messages, but also in your research. And here's the other thing: how many of you have been scammed by your phone? If you get an email from Amazon and it's telling you that your order that you didn't order is stuck somewhere, you guys need to learn to look at the email that it came from. When it says @gmail.com, it's not Amazon. And here's the other hard part. Now, I'm a web designer, programmer by trade, very technologically involved, and they can cloak the email also, which means it could say Amazon.com, but it really isn't. So, you know, we've got to be really cautious today of all things. And a lot of times, you know, these devices cause us to be so cautious that we jump to conclusions. And I want you guys to understand that we are bigger than these machines, and that we have control over these machines, and we have control over ourselves. And I want to just remind you guys of those things. And just as I said, it's a great thing to get these kids out to enjoy nature, to learn skills. It's just as good for us. And when I am not in front of these machines, I am in the woods walking. I am in the woods. You know, we go out and we will set up a shelter. We will light a fire. We will have pine nettle tea. We will relax by a river. We will enjoy life. And there is so much beyond our four walls. So often we get comfortable in our four walls. We get comfortable with this in front of our nose. But there's a lot of people out there right now that struggle to sleep. Why? Because they're in front of their machine from the time their feet hit the floor. The first thing they do is check to see if there's any messages, anything important. And granted, I do too. I have clients. I've got to look out for them, both web clients and integrative health clients. I got to make sure. But I also sever myself from my machines, and we're on them until we go to bed. The radiation, the light from the machines, you know, there's a reason that people are selling the blue block glasses. the blue light blocking glasses, because it is messing with our circadian rhythm. It's messing with our bodies in a lot of ways. So I want to just encourage you guys. I'm behind. Many of you are in the 90s already. I know Tennessee has had 90-degree weather already. You guys are in the midst of heading into your summer. We're just heading into our spring. Maybe. We had snow the other day, and it's been cold in the morning, but it's beautiful in the afternoon. Honestly, these temperatures could stay all year long. It's like 50s, 60s. It's perfect. Perfect. It's perfect. But get outside. Get outside. Now, I said about the technology being good and bad. I am schooling profusely right now. I could be sitting inside schooling and not getting any exercise and just staying at it. I get out in the woods, I walk 5 miles, and I re-listen to all of my lessons so that I can come back and quiz. So, you can still utilize your technology, but use it wisely. And the other thing I just want to ask is that you get in tune with it. Be in tune with it and understand how it is interfering, possibly, with your health, your day-to-day, and also, your frustrations, your depressions, your anger. I mean, my husband is growling at his phone more than he's enjoying it because he and technology do not get along, not even a little. If anything is going to go wrong with any of our equipment, it's always going to be his. And I always got to be cautious not to snicker. It's in there. I just can't let it sneak out. Because poor man, he's just got an extreme magnetism and it just battles against the technology. But that's just it. Just pay attention and let it do its thing and let you do your own. We get distracted, we get pulled in, we get sucked in, and we forget that there's more to life and other things that we can be doing. And, I thoroughly enjoy a good book. I would rather have a book in my hand than I would a book on a machine. The only reason I switched over is because I needed to use a headlamp to read at night, and my husband would cough and I would naturally turn my head and blind him, and it was not a good combination. So being able to dim the machine and read at night is nice. And yes, I just said about the blue blocking, but I do like to read at night to unwind. So Laura says, always go to the source instead of clicking on a link you didn't request. Absolutely. Absolutely. And when it says your computer's blowing up and you see that it's not, don't click on it. Don't click on it. Vicky says the hat makes you look like a smart professor. Right. I feel like my brain is frying with all the schooling, but let me tell you guys, I'm learning so much and it's all compounding. And I want to tell those of you out there on YouTube, last week I had, it just left me. Jenna joined us last week, and I didn't, Mr. Keith says, greetings from New Zealand. I don't own a cell phone or wear a watch. I learned healing living. Yeah, I got to get on here. Exactly. I know you. And the dumb phones are actually really good. However, they've gotten dumb to the degree that they don't acknowledge the text from the smartphones. So then it caused more grief than it did good. Let me get on YouTube real quick here so I can see what the rest of what Keith said. But I wanted to invite those of you that are joining me on YouTube to our community. Not only do you have access to me via email, but we would love to have you join the community. So go to faithledhealing.com/community. That will bring you into our community for both faith-led living and faith-led healing. And, the let them theory really does apply to this situation. And hang on, it's going to start talking. There we go. He says, I don't own a cell phone or wear a watch. I learned healing living amongst Native people who use mental telepathy to communicate, which of us are backwards, right? Right? I think Austin and I use that. We drive Glenn nuts because we both know what the other's thinking and we can both finish each other's sentences. And Glenn's like, how did you know? How did you get that from that? How? So, yes, there is something to be said about that. And you know what? The more connected we are with people, the more in tune we are with people, the more connected we are, the more we want to be connected. Our phones pull us away from that connection. Our phones give us something to use as an escape, maybe when we should be having those conversations or being connected with people. You know, one of the things we like to do out here in the wilderness is gather once a week and play games. We'll play, I just dug out Uno and Yahtzee from my container as I was packing. But we play 9 and 13 and Rummy, you know, sit and play a game. Sit and read a book. We do that too. We'll have a fire out on the porch in the chimney, and I'll read a book while we're sitting there. I'll read it out loud. And we do devotions once a week. So, you know, gathering with people is important. Now, we live remotely. We are kind of a bunch of hermits, but we still gather together. Gather with your people. You know, this is another source for me. This is a way I gather with all of you. You know, Mr. Keith is from New Zealand. You know, we've got people all over the globe. This is a beautiful thing. So if you are like I am, you live remotely, you kind of hermit, you're struggling to find maybe the right people locally, there's plenty of options online. But instead of just being on your phone and dumbing down, get connected with people. Get in a good book. I know that growing up, I was sitting in a tree, in a Y limb, in an old tree back in the orchard, and I would climb up there and I would sit and read a book. Or there was a swing in our front yard on this massive tree that it took 5 of us to go around arm to arm to get around this massive tree. And I'd sit there in the swing and read. You know, I say kids, but adults are the same. How many of us, you know, when we become adults, we become dull. We lose our sense of adventure. And I want to encourage you to be adventurous. I still love doing all the things that I did as a kid. I love to fish. We just got our fishing licenses. We got our turkey tags to go out turkey hunting. And, you know, I know this sounds like a really weird conversation to have on a healing and wellness podcast, but why do I do those things? So that I know where my food's coming from, and so that I'm gathering food that is healthy. This is going to sound really crazy, but not too many people probably enjoyed the same Easter feast that we did. We had barbecued beaver backstraps and wild turkey. So I know I'm not your typical health and wellness coach, but I can't get cleaner food than that. And I'm not surrounded by cornfields, GMO cornfields, and all of that. I am surrounded by the wilderness, so my food is very healthy. So, you know, this was a little bit all over the place today, but I want you in tune, and I don't want you letting your phone not only dumb you down, but cause conflict in your life. So let it sit and go have fun. Get outside, go for a walk, ride a bike. How many of you has it been like umpteen years since you've ridden a bike? I got mine, okay. I got mine out. Well, I've had a bike since we're here, but I got a really nice trail bike a bunch of years back. And I have an exercise bike. Exercise bike, stationary bike. Why? So that when it's raining like it was the other day, I can still get my time in and ride. So, you know, we've got options, and everybody is into different things. So just find things that make you happy, but be in tune with your machine, and just be in tune with how it's causing possibly conflict, sadness, depression, anger, all of those crazy things. And find ways to detach from it in ways that you can do other things. But just being in tune with it, just being aware. and not allowing it to cause the struggles in your life that it might be causing. Because like I said, I was upset with my son because he wasn't, showing up for on time for things, or showing up at all, when he wasn't being notified at all. And I'm seeing it across the board myself. My notifications are coming in at 4 p.m. and my event was at 9 a.m. So don't trust the machines. Trust this and hone in on this and keep making this brighter and more brilliant, because we allowed the world to dumb us down. And you guys are all brilliant. You guys truly all have a purpose, and God has an amazing plan for you. So hone in on that. Pull in to Him and ask Him to guide you into that, because He will. He definitely will. I walked around in my 30s unsure of what my purpose was. I'm pretty certain what it is right now. And, it could change, because it has morphed. It has changed, and He will change. But being in front of a device isn't going to necessarily inspire all that to surface. Get into the Word, pull into Papa, pray, and step back into being childlike. We are supposed to have faith like a child. That means you need to be a little bit childlike to have faith like a child, at least in my mind. And I would much rather be running around the woods like a child than I would an adult, because we worry too much as adults about finances, marriage, jobs, all those things. Think about kids when they're out running around. Did they think about any of those things? And we shouldn't be either. When we are out and able to have fun, we should be focusing on having fun. So think about how, how we lose sight of that kind of stuff. The more we can enjoy life, and the more that we can renew life, and also understand that we're the only one that has that power. Just like we are the only one that can control ourselves, we are the only one that can make decisions for ourselves to do wild and crazy things. Sassy is sitting in a garage about 7 or 8 miles from here, and she's calling my name. Do you hear her? Yep, she's calling my name. Tammy, it's time to get out. And for those of you that don't know, Sassy is our 2003 Harley. And Keith will have words to say. He makes fun of my Harley. But do what nurtures your soul. We like the wilderness. We like being out in the wilds. We like doing crazy things, and that's what nurtures our soul. So find what nurtures yours, whether it's knitting, whether it's loving on people, whether it is climbing mountains, whatever it is, get out and enjoy it. Grab whatever it is that you haven't picked up in a long time and start doing it, and just enjoy life. So often we don't, because of the world around us, our phones and so forth. So I'm going to jump off of YouTube. You guys have an awesome rest of your day. I am glad you guys came and joined me, and get in our community, faithledhealing.com/community, and check out my blog, both faithledliving.com and faithledhealing.com. Lots of material is beginning to pop up there because I am back into my writing. I am doing exactly what I'm telling you to do. I've been dying to get back to the pen and paper, and I'm also getting it out there. So have a good rest of your day. I love you guys. God bless. If